Hi, Chef Luke. I'm from your Edgewood Road Hy-Vee, and we're doing a video today to kind of celebrate our National Bacon Lovers Day, and also, just to kind of show some of the nice produce that we have that we're getting from our local farms right around Iowa. So I'm kind of doing a chef-inspired BLT. At your delis here at the store, we are now carrying some more, higher-end kind of meats for the deli. They've got some pancetta and prosciutto. So today we're using a Volpe pancetta. So this is something that I'm used to using as like a bacon in a restaurant. So we'll take this onto a sheet tray, or a cookie sheet at home if that's what you have. Now I had them cut these just a little bit thicker. It'll make better bacon for a BLT. So we just kind of get a pan with a little spray onto it, and so you have these pieces that are, this is one piece. It's a nice, good, thick cut, so that way you'll have something when you're done baking it. So we'll get these just layered out onto your sheet, and you can scrunch these right up next to the edge. It doesn't matter. It'll cook down smaller, and then we'll pull them right off there, and that'll go into your sandwich at the end. So I've taken my oven, and I've got it up to 375 degrees on a convection, so that's kind of cooking at about 400 degrees for you at home. And that'll give you a good fast cook on this, hopefully about 10-12 minutes, but you want to watch it. And this took me probably about a pound's worth of pancetta. Have these down there, and we'll just take that and we'll throw it right into our oven. Just let that cook for a little bit. So what we're going to do is make what we call an aioli. Now it's just a fancy term for mayonnaise, but it's kind of made from scratch. Now what's going to make it a little bit easier for us is if we do it in a food processor. Now I'm making this to be kind of a bacon flavored mayonnaise. So what I've done is I took a pound of, it doesn't matter, you can get any kind of bacon that you want, just kind of chop it up into small pieces, just throw it into a pan. I used a cast iron pan, which I like to use a lot. It'll hold its heat a little bit better. So you throw the bacon in there and just over a low heat, just let it cook for a little while. And what you'll end up with is just these little nice kind of dried bacon bits. And you also separate it through a little strainer. You have some nice bacon oil in here. So when you have a mayonnaise, you have your egg yolks, and then you have your flavoring that you put in there. So we're going to take some egg yolks, and we'll put it into our food processor. You just kind of separate this into a bowl. Get your egg yolks. And I used a jumbo egg, so that way we get, a little bit more egg yolk for what we're getting, because that's all I really need from these anyway. So you get some nice big yolks. Okay, so I'll probably put about, let's try it with 4 egg yolks to start off with. That's why I get the whole dozen, so if you have to make a little bit more, but you don't need a whole bunch. We're just making a couple sandwiches here. Okay, so we've got our egg yolks into our food processor. So what I'm also using is just a little crushed garlic. You can get this right in your produce section, just buy their jarred, already prepped garlic. So we can put about a tablespoon and a half into there with the eggs. Take this and just kind of pulse it a little bit, just so we get that nice and combined and don't really deteriorate the egg yolks too much. So you'll have just a nice little garlic yolk down in there. So now we've got our bacon fat, which we've rendered from our bacon. So we'll take that, and I've got a little more olive oil over here. So we can kind of alternate a little bit and just kind of let it thicken up. And we'll add a little salt and pepper, and that'll be our aioli. So let's get these ready to go. Start this. Start adding a little bit of the bacon fat first. Add just a little bit of olive oil. A little more olive oil. And as soon as you get to a mayonnaise consistency, we'll kind of check, see where we're at. That's kind of about where we want to be, but we'll let it go so it gets good and combined. And to thin it down, we can always add a little bit more bacon fat. But we want to reserve just a little bit. I'll show you why in a little bit later. Okay, so now that's got some nice stand up to it. So now we have a garlic and bacon mayonnaise. Alright, so now that we've got this, we're going to need a little salt and pepper, but since I'm going to have to mix something in there anyway, we're going to take some of this dried bacon that you have left over from the rendering of the bacon fat, and then we'll just chop it up, get some nice little, because you want like a bacon bits, but this is going to be a lot better flavor than if you were to just like buy a bacon bit. You never know if they're using like a soy protein or something, so make your own fresh bacon bits, a little bit less preservatives and everything into it. So we'll chop this good and fine, so it gives a little depth into your mayonnaise. So for some of you that don't think mayonnaise is very good, it depends. I like a fresh mayonnaise, and so this one is actually really tasty. So we'll just put these right into here. Okay, and then we'll have some salt and pepper. Always try and use fresh cracked when you can. It's a little bit nicer of a flavor. A few twists. And like always, I love using kosher salt. So a little bit of this into there. Throw it back onto the food processor. Just kind of pulse it around. Make sure that it's getting good and combined. And then we have our garlic bacon aioli. Alright, so now that we have our aioli, and see that's a good clinging aioli, that's a nice good thickness to it, it'll spread on there real nice. And we can just transfer it right into a bowl. And you won't use all this for the recipe unless you really like mayonnaise, but you can reserve this and it should be good in your fridge for about a week or so. Alright, so we have our aioli. I'm going to put that in the fridge real quick. Just make sure it stays. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we've got, as far as our buns, again this is kind of local, we got our pretzel buns that we make right here in the store, and you should be able to find this at any of your local Hy-Vees, but they do make it right there in the store for you. So get these nice bakery fresh buns, so it's kind of local, but we'll take these and we're going to get a little toasted edge onto them. That's why I had us reserve some of the bacon grease, because if you got to have like an oil onto the pan anyway, might as well use some of your bacon grease just to keep that flavor going. And it is National Bacon Day, so reuse. Alright, so just any serrated knife, you'll just kind of take these and just cut them like you would a sandwich bun. So I have tomato, and it's from a Yost Farms here in Iowa, and then we also have from the Bloomin' Woolly Acres, we have some nice lettuce that'll be a nice little something fresh onto there. Now we're also going to take, in the same pan that I rendered the bacon out of, then I've left some of the bacon stuff that's right at the bottom, and then I've added a little olive oil, and we'll add a little bit, this is kind of an Irish butter, so it's going to be a little bit tangy, but I really think it's something that'll be nice for this. We'll put that to kind of mix with the oil and the bacon fat that's already been into there. And so we'll get that kind of moving around. And we're actually going to saute the tomatoes just very lightly. You just want to get like a little bit of an edge onto them, and then we'll hold those. You're still going to want that kind of chilled, but you get that good and hot, you'll add a little bit of flavor to it. But I'd go thicker with your tomatoes. I mean, you want to have like a little tomato steak in there. So you're looking probably a good 1/3 of an inch. We can do a few of them. So I got a couple tomatoes. So this way we're not wanting for, nice big thing of tomato. So what I like to do with the tomato is salt and pepper it before you do anything to it. So put a little cracked pepper. Just a little bit of kosher salt. Okay. So we'll take this over to here. Now we've got our pan over here. See, as long as it doesn't really smoke up right off the bat. So we can take that, put our bacon grease down under there. We'll actually take the bun, kind of spread it around with it, so we can get all these toasted. You can smell the bacon. And these won't need too long on here. Just getting a look for a little edge. We got the butter and the oil over here for the tomatoes. Get a nice seared edge onto these. Alright, so we're just looking for a nice toasty brown sear onto these. That it'll soak that bacon right up. So you just have a little bit of crispiness. You don't need these to be way, way, way too done. So once you get a little bit of edge, you can kind of stack them up on the others. And make sure that we have a nice edge onto our sandwich. Now the tomatoes, just a light edge. So, and we only want the one edge onto them like that. So we can pull these out. Just getting a little bit of the bacon that'll pull up onto the tomato. We'll take these. And we'll just throw this into the freezer, just so that we can get that cooled as quickly as possible. Alright, so our buns, see that's just a nice toast on the edge of these, so we're good to go on the buns. Alright, so we have our aioli and our tomatoes cooling off in there, and the pancetta is probably going to be just a couple more minutes, so we'll let that cook for just a couple more minutes, then we'll start assembling some sandwiches. Okay, so we pulled our tomatoes that are nice and chilled now right out of the cooler, so we can set these down and get them ready for assembly. And so we have our nice toasted bun. So what we'll do first is we'll put some of the bacon garlic aioli and just kind of spread it right onto the bun. This way it'll kind of soften up as you get ready. You can put a little on top and a little on the bottom. Now, I like to put the lettuce onto the bottom, but you don't want to have just this huge piece that's just kind of sitting, it'll just kind of like drape all over. So I'll usually rip it once and then kind of crisscross it, so that way it gets a little bit closer to the bun size. So we have these nice little tasty discs of bacon. Now we'll want to again get the fat off of it. Be careful, these will start to slide. They're already obviously greased up, but that way you can let these sit here for a second, and they're still going to be good and hot for when we assemble these sandwiches. But we can take our tomato slice and we'll put that right into the top so the juices will kind of mix with the aioli. Alright, so we can pull some of these pieces of pancetta off of here, set them on our towels right here. So these are going to be cooked but still kind of soft. You don't need them to be like crispy done. You can, and it's just really up to you. But so we'll get about 3 good pieces per each one of these sandwiches. Now again, we can take a serrated knife just because it'll go through these a lot easier, and then just lightly saw into the bun so you're not like mushing the sandwich down. Chef Luke's Super BLT, a little bacon garlic aioli on a pretzel bun with some nice fresh local produce. Bon appetit.